Hello and welcome to another episode of Leapwood Chapper. I looked for content to do for this episode, and just when I was preparing for this, Trump announced gold cards, and I was like, well, I better go do that one instead of the one I had planned to do. So welcome to today's episode. We'll be talking about the most recent news that dropped February 25th, 2025, and that's Trump's proposed gold cards. He says gold cards are going to be used by the rich and wealthy to immigrate to the US. So, this episode is aimed at telling just diffusing through the news and bringing you, what is correct and what is incorrect. Again, most of my episodes on this podcast and on this videos are to help international students. And once I hear news that tingles my ear around immigration, I am forced to somewhat provide you insights that would benefit you as an international student. So, what do I have to cover? I'm going to talk about the gold cards in detail. I'm also going to talk about the EB visa system. The EB visa system is the the employment based. There are 5 categories of that. Then I'm going to talk about the limits and break down the gold card thing that Donald Trump talked about, and also talked about why this is not probably possible. Again, we're living in interesting times. I'm not a legal expert. I am not also a lawmaker. I'm just someone that enjoys sifting through data and information to provide you insights. So none of this that I mentioned is legal advice. Again, please consult lawyers for this, but let's jump into it. So Trump says he is going to give gold cards to 10 million people, and his insight is that he wants to pay down the deficit. But before we get to that, let us talk about the EB system. The employment based visa is a highly skilled workers visa, and investor. There's also an investor category, and also for multinational executives. There are 5 categories, so 5 of them: EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, EB5. It's that simple. You need to understand that we're talking about the EB5 in this episode, but just to give you an idea, the EB1 is the highly skilled priority. It's called the Einstein visa. It's the same visa that Einstein used to move into the US. That's why it's called the Einstein visa. So Einstein emigrated as well from Germany into America, and he used that visa. That's why it's called the Einstein visa. EB2 is advanced degree holders, those with exceptional ability. There are 2 subcategories. EB2 regular, if you're going to go through the PEM process, and EB2 NIW if you're going to go through the national interest waiver. That's EB2. EB3 is if you have a bachelor's degree. That's the minimum requirement for you to get EB3. If you have a bachelor's degree, if the job requirement states that the minimum requirement is a bachelor's degree. When I say the minimum requirements, the job requirement is because an employer has to file the EB3 for you. For the EB2, one category is one of them that you can self-petition for yourself, where it's in the interest of the US that they give you this visa. There's another subcategory under EB2 where an employer files for you, rather. You cannot self-petition. You'd have to go through a sequence of steps, which is one of them is the PERM process. So you have to check if you have, you get the wage determination, then you have to go through an employment test to make sure that there's no one in the US that can do that can do the job. And then that's, that EB1, you can self-petition if you, let's say, for example, a Nigerian artist won the Grammy, for example. You could petition for the EB1. No, I think EB1B, which is a subcategory. EB1A is for scientists, EB1B, but you get the picture. EB4 is used by religious workers and broadcasters. So if you're a pastor or an imam that wants to immigrate to the US, and a church or a mosque or any other religious body wants to bring you into the system, they can use the EB4 category to do that. And then there's the EB5. Now, in particular, this episode will concentrate more about on the EB5 because the EB5 is the category that Trump wants to now get rid of with his plan. Now, again, this is not an executive order. This is something that he mentioned while he was signing an executive order. So we're still going to wait for that order to come out, and then when that order comes out, I'm going to give you more insights when they do come out. But that's the whole gist. But for EB5, this is what we currently have for EB5. There are two amounts. So EB5 is the investor visa. You drop $800,000 in a targeted employment area. What that means is targeted employment area is an area of high unemployment. Or a rural area. So, for example, if you wanted to, say, for example, open a pharmacy in that area or open a Chick-fil-A, the idea is that 800,000 goes into opening up the business, and you have to hire at least 10 workers. That's for the category that targets high, employment area that has high unemployment rate. And then there is the other one, which is $1,050,000, so it's $1.05 million for other areas. So other areas that have low employment and things like that, maybe like in the city or something. Those are the two subcategories. The EB5 is numerically capped at 10,000 per year. It's Congress that set this up, so you need to understand that this was set up in the 1990s, and you are subjected to numerical cap. Now, the entire EB category is subjected to 140,000 green cards. So you cannot have beyond 140,000 mandated by Congress annually. That is how I got my green card. I got my green card under the EB2 category, and that is what the law states. So that's one of the things you need to understand about this. So annual cap is this, and now the processing times, it takes years. So there have been people that are currently waiting, even for the EB5, after they've dropped the amount of money and they've done everything. If you're outside of the country, you would have to wait. There's a numerical limit every year. Once the limit is hit, you cannot create new numbers. So you can't create numbers out of thin air. And usually the government, everything resets every year. So every October 1st, the numerical limit is reset. So if you hit the numerical limits before the following October, you can't do anything until you have to wait for a new set of numbers to be allocated in that year. So that's how it works. So they cap, the 140,000 green cards is also inclusive of family members. So it's not just, so when I got my green card, my wife got a green card. So that's two out of 140. So if you have a family of 5 and the husband applies and gets it, because only one person needs to apply, the other 4 also get the green card. So that's 5 numbers. So that's how it works. And that counts towards the numerical limit. So it's not infinite. Also, part of that requirement states that no country can get more than 7% of the 140. So do the math. You have 140,000 green cards. No country can get more than 9,800 visas every year. That's the law. That's currently the law. Yes, it's a very small number. You should get Congress to increase the number. Yes, you should, totally. But that requires the Senate, the House of Rep to pass a bill that would increase the numerical limit. Then you'd have to get a president to sign. So in this new Congress, there are lots of people that would say yes or no, but that's how it works. That's how it currently works, and that's how it should work. So let's break down this Trump gold cards proposal now that I've given you the background. So he says it's somewhat like a green card, but it's at a higher level of sophistication. Again, we don't have the full details of what this plan is, so usually you have to wait and give President Trump how will I put it? Give him benefit of doubt. Let him release it, and then you can assess the plan based on what you see. He then says wealthy individuals or companies could pay for people to get in. So again, this is a plan or a concept of a plan. If companies are going to pay, so would it be like an Apple company would pay $5 million to get a resource in? What is the cost? What is the cost analysis benefit or the cost benefits of paying $5 million to get one person to get in? Because the one person would get a green card, and you pay $5 million. I'm trying to understand. Also, he says he will sell 10 million gold cards to reduce the deficit. Now, we all agree that the deficit is a big deal. There's a numerical limit of 140,000 green cards every year. Is the gold card a new category that is that is now a new numerical value of 10 million? How do you create that? What are going to be the requirements for this gold cards? Is there going to be an educational level? Is it just money? How do you analyze the source of these funds? Do they have to provide the source of these funds? What kind of business can they work on? So those are somewhat what he has mentioned that this would cover. So 10 million green cards, 10 million gold cards. My apologies, for people who have $5 million to come invest into the U.S. and he also says it's not going to require congressional approval. So I know that the current Trump administration have, been very colorful in the ways that they've been doing their things. But if you're going to sidestep congressional approval for immigration, is it going to be something that every single party should be able to do? Should a Democrat come in? Should they also sidestep? So, it not requiring congressional approval, how is that going to work? Are you going to mandate USCIS to start granting visas to people? Also, if it's going to replace the EB-5, which is, it's in his power to do so, to mandate that the EB-5 now becomes the EB Gold or Gold category. The question would be, what about the people that have been waiting for about 5 years to 10 years for an EB-5 visa? Are you going to suspend them numerically? Are you going to move them over to the 10 million so that they can get their gold cards faster? So those are the kind of questions that needs to be answered right now. So this is what I think. This is why I think it won't work. The immigration laws are controlled by Congress. Once you do this, there's going to be a lot of lawsuits that come out to challenge that, and I believe that the courts would simply just, first of all, suspend the executive orders, and then secondly, they're just going to say this is illegal, and then they're going to throw it out. So that's what I think is going to happen. So secondly, there's a numerical number. It's 140,000. I think a better strategy for the Trump presidency would be to actually put new numerical limit into the budget bill that just passed some few hours ago, so that you can put that in that bill. That could be a very good way to start this journey towards a newer numerical limit. It might not be 10 million limit. They might double the 140,000 to 280,000, or make it 500,000 for a period of time. Maybe make it 500,000 for the next 5 years, because there are currently about 1 million Indians waiting for their green cards right now. They've been waiting easily since 2013, 2014, waiting for a green card. So that's about 11-year wait. So you could, adjust the numerical limit and allow a bunch of people to get their green cards, and then you can put a particular numerical value to the gold cards that he's proposing. That's my idea. Also, the EB-5 is currently capped at 10,000. So are you going to force the current people to switch over to 10,000 gold cards and say, no, we're gonna suspend, or we're gonna immobilize those people that are already in the queue and just stop them? Or do we ask them to bring the difference? So if they're asking for 5 million and they have dropped a million, do you ask them, hey, can you bring $4 million extra, and then we'll just fast track you and give you a green card? So what is the modality for people that are already in the pipeline? So that's another thing that wasn't talked about. Again, we can wait for that to come out in another 2 weeks, like he said. Also, national security and fraud risks. He didn't mention anything about job creation. What happens? Is this going to be like everyone just floods the system with applications without verifying, where the funds are coming from, what they're going to use the funds to do? Those are the little things that, we still need to look at and to, check closely. Also, one of the things that I think should be a very good solution to this would be fixing the EB system already. Like I said, I just mentioned, you can as well just increase the numerical cap, make it 1 million for like 5 years, and then scale it back down. Or you can increase it and scale it down as you wish. But again, this is at the prerogative of the senators and the House of Rep. They have population models that they have to make sure that one group of individuals or class of people do not overrun the whole system. America is a very equity-based type of system, and they try to make it as equitable as possible. So will this skew this into the hands of the wealthy and the rich, and then leave out the other folks of people? I also know that the current administration is not a fan of the visa lottery system, the green card lottery, where you can apply from across the world and then just apply and get there's a numerical limit to that, again at 50,000. Could he probably use that as a replacement? He could replace that. So that's one way he could do that. But the real problem is there needs to be a strategy to clear the backlog. How do you clear the backlog? Like I mentioned, there's 1 million Indians waiting for green cards. So how do you deal with that? As first, do you increase the per country cap? Because the per country cap, a lot of people feel it's discriminatory because some countries have more population than the others. I feel it's a very fair system where it allows everyone equal access to the volume of green cards. So if one country has more immigration than the other, there should be like a penalty for that, because then you would not siphon green cards from someone else. So, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that? How do you, also how do you fix the processing delays for the current one, for the investors and the skilled workers? Fix it. That's probably a better use of time and effort. And also, I know the administration have very smart people that have seen this problem and have a solution, but is it priority? Let's wait and see. But it looks like it's priority, because if it wasn't, they will not be mentioning gold cards. So maybe we expect in 2 weeks to probably see that comprehensive immigration policy. In conclusion, I think the gold cards, it lacks a lot of legal backing because of the numerical limits from Congress. The feasibility is it's going to be very difficult to structure because of the nature of the requirements that is being mentioned. There has to be a lot of legalese that goes into crafting this. So it's one thing to have an idea, and it's another thing to craft it legally. Also, it lacks the economic incentive. So are you just going to take 5 million and invest in the business, or are they going to pay 5 million into the government coffers so that we can pay that towards the deficit? Again, we're going to wait for the details. Also, the current the EB system is currently backlogged, and this plan ignores those people that have been waiting for years. So, is it possible that in the next 2 weeks we get a comprehensive outline on how it caters for the people in the backlog? I hope it does. So we're going to wait for that. And I feel immigration should support economic growth while maintaining fairness. So if you're going to expand, if you're just going to pumping 10 million people into the country, over how, would that be 10 million people annually? Would that be 10 million people in total? And over how long? Do you just open up the borders and bring 10 million people from a particular country? For a particular race, creed, religion? What is the criteria for that? So, what do you think? Should the US expand investor visas, or should it fix the backlog? Or what do we hope to see in the next 2 weeks? But when it drops, be sure that I'll be here to give you all the insights. So please drop your comments, drop your thoughts in the comment section. Please like, subscribe, and share. And let's see how this goes. Thank you. Catch you in the next one.